Hello there, Dranish of Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. And I'm still looking through some of my whiskeys that I think may or may not be worthy to jump into my top 20 bracketology for the end of the year. And another one of the whiskeys I'm bringing out that I've tasted over a year ago, and so I want to come back and taste it again, is Balcones, which comes out of Waco, Texas. And this is their flagship whiskey, which is their Texas single malt whiskey, whiskey no E, pot still distilled, the original Texas whiskey. There's a little controversy around that. They actually did produce the first of the new generations of whiskeys coming out of Texas, but if you listen to my interview with Nico Martini on the podcast, he said, yeah, it's a little touchy subject there because Dan Garrison at Garrison Brothers actually showed one of Balcones' former owner, one of the two owners, how to make whiskey. And before releasing his whiskey, Balcones came out with one really quickly. And so kind of a source of contention there. And I don't have a dog in the fight, to be honest. I've actually never tasted Garrison Brothers whiskey. And leave comments below. Am I an idiot for not trying Garrison Brothers whiskey? It's expensive, and it's a Texas whiskey, and I think, when I think Texas whiskey, I think excessive heat, and if we're talking about Houston or San Antonio or that area, even more heat. And so to me, it's like, man, that's a lot of money to spend on something that feels like it might be rugged and maybe a little bit for the Scotch drinker in me, for the Irish whiskey drinker in me now, and for the guy who, I'm looking at my list of whiskeys that are ending up in my top 20, and there's not a lot of bourbons in there, that all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh man, is this really going to be for me or not? Is it going to hit my palate or not? And so I don't know, maybe one of these days I was at the New Orleans Bourbon Festival in March of 2020, just as the pandemic hit. They canceled the festival, and I was supposed to go to a tasting that was being put on by Garrison Brothers. That would have been my opportunity, but I kind of missed out on that because I decided to head out of town quickly so I could get my toilet paper. I came home, and all the stores are sold out of toilet paper, and it's like the first time in my life that I just kind of let the toilet paper run out, down to like a roll or two, and I'm like, I can't find any anywhere. What are you people doing? Why are you hoarding toilet paper? Like, I understand it was like water, and all our water was tainted or something. Crazy. Okay, but off that subject, on to this whiskey that I want to see whether it's worthy for me to jump into my top 20 bracketology at the end of the year. It's not a bottle I go back to very often, but it's one of those bottles that I keep hearing people talking about, and it's like, you know what? I need to dig in now that my palate is continuing to refine and see what my opinion of this is, because early on, to me, it was just a little harsh. It's 53 ABV, and to me, it actually, for being aged a little over 2 years, it was very intense to me, and so I wasn't really digging it the times that I've tasted it in the past. And so let's see how that's all kind of refining over time. So I'm getting the oak notes in here, and I'm actually getting an underlying raspberry note coming in. Maybe a little brown sugar, and there's a tea note in there, like a black tea note. A little bit of spice, herbally. Very interesting on the nose. Not really smelling like other things that I can put my finger on. Cheers. Brown sugar, raspberry continues on through, actually. A little cola note, some oak, A little bit of tannin in there. Some cinnamon hits the back palate all of a sudden. Kentucky hug, we'll call it the Texas hug in this particular. And then that black tea note comes back in. Right on the end, a little mintiness as well. And some of that red berry note stays in here. There's a little yeasty note, and there is an oak note, like a tannin coming in. To me, the tannin and that there's a little like a yeasty kind of a flavor that comes in. Two signs of youth to me that are in here. Well, a sign of youth and a sign of an aggressive barrel, really, with that age coming in. And yesterday when I did a pre-tasting on this, I was actually kind of disappointed in that I felt like the youth and the aggressive aging were getting in the way of what could be a marvelous whiskey. But today when I'm tasting it, and I'm in a different frame of mind, more of those flavors that I think are what I'm looking for that would make this a whiskey I really, really would drive towards are starting to come through a little bit more. But they're still kind of covered by that aggressive oak and the tannin bite that's coming through, and that kind of little bit of yeasty bready note that comes in that says a little more distillation would probably get you there. And this is where, when I talk about Jack Daniel's bonded whiskey, that I think that what Chris Fletcher has done there he has mastered the idea of aggressive aging to get more oak flavor in there without going overboard, and to get rid of that tannin, but also to keep the rye influence in and not burn it out. Don't let it age too long, so you keep that rye spice as well. And what this does for me is it's kind of the opposite. It's like it's not been in the barrel long enough to get rid of the yeastiness, but it's been in the barrel a little bit. It's been so aggressive that the oak has maybe done a little bit too much for my palate. And this is my palate. This is not, you taste it, you're going to come up with your own things. But I love the fact that I'm pulling in these berry notes, that I'm getting that cinnamon bit in there, that there are dimensions to this that lie underneath. And I'm actually going to add a little water to it as well. And I did this last night, and I found I appreciated this whiskey a bit more too with that. And that black tea note at the end, Texas tea. No, there is not oil in my glass. Except for the fact they don't chill filter, and there's no colorant added to it. So lack of chill filtering, maybe there is some oil in here. Cola note, much more present. Oh, toffee note comes in. Oh, Heath bar. Whoa. Unexpected. Yesterday I just straight poured some water in there, and I probably diluted it a little bit more than, and then some rye spice. It's like an herbally rye spice kind of thing. And this is a single malt, so this does not have rye in it. But it is picking up kind of that herbally kind of rye note, interestingly enough, in there on top of this toffee note. Now I see why people like this whiskey. And it just took a couple drops of water for me to get there. But boy, that was an eye-opener, because no longer am I paying attention to the youth. I'm paying attention to that flavor that just came bursting out at me. And now this nice mint that's kind of keeping my mouth occupied with a really long finish on this. Man. All right, that changed my total attitude towards this whiskey. For putting it in bracketology, I'm probably not going to do that. Mainly because there are other whiskeys that I do like a lot better than this. But, boy, it has changed my opinion of this whiskey, and one that, I've rooted for it because I love the people at Balcones, but I just has been like, it's just a little too young / aggressive for me. But man, add a little water to it, and maybe having it oxidize in that bottle a little bit has kind of adjusted it a little bit too. But and maybe my palate, maybe the fact that when you're first starting out, you're tasting, aggressiveness probably plays a little stronger in your mind, and you get so caught up in the aggressiveness that you don't take the time to look at what is going on underneath. I'm actually getting a little obsessed by that little Heath Bar toffee note that's in there, because it's making me want to go back and grab another drink here. So I'm going to do that. And if you enjoyed this video, what do you think of Balcones? By the way, you can leave those comments down below as well. And I'm sure that the whiskey continues to evolve as time goes on, because it's been a couple years since that bottle was made. So it may be evolving as it goes, but definitely glad I gave this one another try, and much more impressed with it. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you'd like to watch more of these videos, and until next time, cheers and Slanjava. I think sometimes too, it's finding something in the whiskey that connects you to it. And now I have something that connects me, because there's that cherry note, cherry / cola note, along with the Heath Bar, that I now will be zeroing in on when I taste this. And maybe that helps take some of these other things out of your, puts it in the peripheral rather than the direct image that you're getting out of the whiskey. Very, very interesting.